garage sale. Torah garage sale. Antique auction. A lot of stuff.
All right, Shabbos, say good morning. Let's begin. Our shir this morning is dedicated by Baruch Fischel and Sonia Kozlovsky and family, and Barbara and Henry Rosenbaum and family, to commemorate the yard site of Sonia and Henry's dear mother, Ruth Meth Rosenbaum, Rachel Bas Herschel, and Martel Zichronim Levracha. We hope that in the merit of our Talmud Torah, her neshama will have an aliyah and the family a nechama. I will say our shirim also this month are dedicated by Leah's soul as a zechus for a full shlema for her daughter Ilana Bas Esther. We hope that in the merit of our Talmud Torah, Ilana, together with Kol Cholei Yisrael, will have a complete and enduring refuah. All right, Tivose, with that, let's begin. We have an incredible daf ahead of us today. Today's daf is Tes Zayin 16, and we are picking up on Tes Vav Amud Beis. Last couple of lines, 15b, 6 lines up from the bottom. So remember again, the Gemara made an interesting distinction between, we're talking about the ability to shecht with something which is mechuber lekarka, something which is attached to the ground. So remember again, the Gemara made an interesting distinction. There's something that is mechuber meikaro, something that ultimately again is attached, is mechuber meikaro, was always attached to the ground. Ultimately, again, the shechita will be possible. Masha'inkin, something which was talush ulubasof chibro, something which was detached initially, but subsequently attached. Ultimately, again, that item will be kosher for shechita. We say, now we don't understand the why for that. We'll get to that in just a little bit. Umanat teimra. So where do we know this distinction between something which was always attached to the ground, which is puzzle for shechita, versus something which was talush ulubasov chibro, versus something which was detached and subsequently attached to the ground, which is kosher for shechita? To which the Gemara says, here we go. This sanya hashochi b'muchni shechita suksher. Well, that's an interesting case. If someone shechts, muchni is a wheel. We'll say, what does that mean? If you could imagine for just a moment, you attach a knife to a wheel, you move the wheel, and the wheel in its movement shechts the animal. So the halacha is, it's kosher. If you shecht with something that is attached to the ground, the shechita is good. Na'as sakin bakosel. If you went ahead and you embedded a knife in a wall, and v'shachat ba, and you use that knife for shechita, then ultimately again shechita suksheira, the knife will be kosher. Hayatzur yotzei min hakosel. Yet, interestingly enough, if there was a rock protruding from the wall, sharpened rock, okana olam e'ilav, or a reed that was just growing on its own, and were both sharp, v'shachat bo, and you went ahead and you shechted with it, so shechita subsula. Ultimately, again, the shechita is pasul. To which the Gemara says, "Katap of Tez Zayin Amudalav Kasher Nahadavi." The boss says, doesn't make any sense. Why the distinction? You began the brisa ultimately by saying what? You began the brisa by saying that if you shecht with something that is mechuber lekarka, ultimately the shechita is good. And then you gave me these other cases of the tzur or of the kana, and you told me now that what? The shechita is not good. So what's going on over here? We'll say, Elalaf shmamina, shiny bein mechuber meikaro, letalush or lebasov chibro, shmamina. Rather, I will say you have to say the distinction is as follows. The beginning of the brisa, which speaks about items that are mechuber lekarka, are talking about items which were originally detached and subsequently attached to the ground. Such an item can be used for shechita. Masha'inkin, items which were always attached to the ground. For example, again, in the Brice's example was a reed, a sharpened reed, which was growing. In other words, it was never detached from the ground, it was growing. Or a stone which protrudes, let's say, from the wall of a cave, right, which was always attached to the ground. Those items ultimately, again, will be puzzle for shechita. So we'll say, so the Gemara seems now we don't know why this is. We'll get to it in just a little bit. But the idea that the Gemara is highlighting over here is something that was always mechuber, what we call mechuber meikaro. Always mechuber will be pasal l'shchita. Something which was detached, subsequently attached, is kosher for shchita, even if it is still attached to the ground. So we'll say, so let's analyze this. Amar Mar, hashochi b'muchni shchitaso kshera. So we'll say, now we're going to go back and focus on one of the previous cases. If someone shechs with a wheel, so again, we'll say, I have a knife attached to a wheel. I turn the wheel, and shchita occurs. Shchita is kosher. Is that true? V'hatanya shchitaso psula. We'll see a brisa that says that if you shecht with a knife attached to a wheel, the shchita is not good. To which the Gemara says it's not a contradiction. Lo kasha ha besarna de parcha. Ha bisarna de maya. One is with a potter's wheel, one is with a water wheel. What's the difference? We'll say, look at Rashi. Sarna de parcha, gilgul shel yotzim shel cheretz, v'yeshlam muchni, shemagalgalin bo kishemechakikin es hakli. So we'll say, so the idea over here, sarna de parcha, Rashi says, is shchitaso kshera, sha'adam megalgalo. We'll say the potter's wheel, the potter has to turn that wheel. As opposed to the water wheel, what happens to the water wheel? Rashi says, Dimaya, Shchitasa Psula, Shamayim Megalgalin Oso, Ve'in Shchita Zu Mikoach Adam. Utnan the Kaman, Nafla Ushachta, Shchitasa Psula. What says we're going to see later on that the halacha is V'zavachta v'yachalta, Mash'ata Zovech Ata Ochel. Shchita requires Koach Adam. Shchita requires ultimately, again, human force. So, for example, if you have a shchita knife that you were able to set on a timer, for argument's sake, right? A robotic arm that you can set on a timer and shecht. So I'll say, ultimately, again, that will not be good. Even though the shchita is glat, it's perfect, it requires koach adam. It requires a person's direct force. See, here's the distinction. When I'm moving the potter's wheel, right? So then ultimately, again, I am directly moving that wheel, and therefore, again, halacha l'maisa, it is my force which is causing the shchita. Masha'in ken what? Masha'in ken when it's a water wheel. So what's moving the wheel? I'm saying the water. The water, that's not my koach. So if I shecht with the potter's wheel, the shechita will be good. I shecht with the water wheel, the shechita will not be good. V'bay same, I will say the other possibility is, ha-va-ha, I will say, this, by the way, if you notice again, what's been exceptionally riveting about this Masechta is how in every single daf you get in these incredible like little pieces of information that are actually quite amazing, just little ideas. So here we'll see this. Rashi points out this is a sogya on Lamed Aleph, this concept of koach adam. So okay, fine. The other possibility is ha v'ha b'sarna d'maya, or I will say could very well be that both cases are talking about water wheels. Okay. I understand, but how could a shechita be kosher with a water wheel? I'll tell you how. The Gemara says, "V'lo kasha ha b'koach rishon ha b'koach sheni." We'll say these are fascinating sugis. The Gemara says one is when we say that shechita with the water wheel is kosher. That's kosher. What we call koach rishon. What's koach rishon? Look at Rashi. Koach rishon miyad kishenatol hadaf hama'aki v'semayim v'hischil galgel ubetchilas gilgul shacha mikoach adam. Also, listen to this. So the way the water wheel works is as follows. Water wheel 101, right? So I have a wheel. That's how it all starts, right? Then I have water. That water is like dammed off, if you could imagine for just a moment. So I go ahead, I lift the dam, right? I lift the dam, and what happens? We'll say there's a first burst of water that rushes out and turns the wheel. That first burst of water is considered my koach. That's koach rishon, right? Any subsequent, so that first revolution of the wheel, the halacha says, is considered to be my koach. The subsequent revolutions of the wheel, which come as a result of the ongoing rushing water, that is no longer attributed to me. So the Gemara says, even in a water wheel, if the shechita occurs as a result of the first revolution generated by the first burst of water, which is a direct result of my undamming, right, of the water, then ultimately, again, halacha l'maisa, that is considered to be a bona fide shechita. Anything that occurs afterwards will not be a bona fide shechita. We'll say the Gemara gives another example of this. The chihad to amra papa. We'll listen to this. This is amazing. I mean, it's not amazing, as you'll see in just a moment. Haiman de kafsi lechavre. If someone ties up his friend, right? Va'ashkil ale bidka demaya. And I go ahead and essentially, imagine this case, Rabosai, I tie up my friend. I mean, it's interesting that it calls him my friend, right? But okay, maybe we're former friends, right? I tie up my friend. This is how much, this is good Muslim part. We love each other so much. Even when we tie each other up and put each other in channels of water, there's still a love deep down. Right? So the Gemara says as follows. So can you imagine this case? I tie up my friend, put him in a channel of water, and then we'll say, what happens? Va'ashkale bidka demaya. And then the same case, I open up the door, right? I open up the dam, and the first burst of water comes through. Va'ashkele bitka demaya umis, and he dies. Chayiv. The halacha is that I'm chayiv for murder. My taima gira didehu da'ahanibe. Ultimately, I will say literally translated, gira didei. It's like my arrow. That is considered to be my koach. V'hani mili b'koach rishon. But that is only true when it was the first burst of water. We call koach rishon. Aval b'koach sheni. But I will say if he doesn't die as a result of the first burst of water, but he only dies later on, then ultimately again this is called grama ba'alma. Again, I want to be clear. Still not good. Still not good, right? Aser. But again, I'm not chayiv ultimately for netilas. I'm not chayiv for killing someone. Look at Rashi for just a moment. It's actually quite interesting. Rashi says, b'koach rishon. Rashi says, shekashru samuch l'svas hamayim. So Rashi understands the case over here is I am tying him up right next to the area where the dam is. V'chevan shenikav naka b'sas hamayim miyad bo hamayim lepiv. And I will say, essentially what we say is, there was enough water already once I opened the dam to drown him. He's drowning over here, right? To drown him. So literally enough water to come into his mouth to ultimately drown him. But koach sheni, I will say this is actually how Rashi understands koach sheni. Rashi understands over here, koach rishon means I'm tying him right next to the dam. Right next to the dam. So therefore, literally again, when I open the dam, the water kills him. Masha'in kin koach sheni, Rashi says, is shekashu berichok. Let's say I didn't tie him up right next to the dam. I put him downstream, right? I put him down the channel. So we'll say, so what happens? Rashi says, "V'hoch b'amayim holchu sham, afapi shu nikev hanekev v'hifnu l'shem, or v'hifnu l'sham, excuse me, pater d'gramamu." So we'll say, but let's say, so this is interesting. Rashi says, koach rishon means I put him right by the dam, open up the dam, the water. Which is the grama, the causation cases, I put him somewhere downstream. See, even though again there's no question that the water is only going to drown him because halacha l'maisa I opened the dam. I allowed the water to come because it's not direct, because it's not immediate. Therefore, it's considered to be a case of grama. Okay, yeah. So we'll say. So again, we're really not getting into the capital case over here. Our focus over here is just the simple water shchita wheel, right? Or the shchita water wheel, right? Which again, on a technical level, could be kosher as long as the shchita is occurring as a result of the first burst of water, which is generated by my direct action. Yosef Rava Chorid Rabbi Chia. Listen to this. So Rav was sitting behind Rabbi Chia. Rabbi Chia kamei de Rabbi, and Rabbi Chia was sitting before Rabbi. The Yosef Rabbi v'kamar, and Rabbi was giving the shir. And Rabbi says, Minayin l'shchita shehi bitalosh. So we'll say, remember again, this is actually quite interesting because what we've established already is what? Is that halacha l'maisa, you cannot do shchita with something that is and always has been mechuber lekarka. Something is attached to the ground and has always been attached to the ground, you cannot do shchita with it. Yet, interestingly enough, if it was detached and subsequently attached, you can go ahead and do shchita with it. Where do we know this idea that shchita is supposed to be done betalosh, with something that is detached? To which the Gemara says, Shene Emar, Vayikach es ha-ma'acheles lishchot. But it's actually quite amazing. Where do we learn it out from? From the Akedah. From the Akedah. The Pasuk says that when Avram Avinu is getting ready to go ahead and shecht Yitzchak, it says, Vayikach es ha-ma'acheles lishchot. He took the knife. He took the knife to engage in the process of shchita. So we'll say, so what does that teach? What do we learn from there? Rabbi says we learn from there that in order for shchita to be valid, there has to be a kicha. There has to be an act of taking of the ma'acheles of the knife, which tells us that the ma'acheles cannot be mechuber lekarka. Okay, beautiful. Amrali Rav Rabbi Chia, my kamer. So we'll say this is actually interesting. So the Rabbi is giving the shir, and remember again, Rav and Rabbi Chia are sitting in the shir. So Rav turns to Rabbi Chia and essentially says, my kamer. What do you think about what Rabbi just said? Right? What are your feelings about that? Rabbi Chia says, Amar lei vav diksiv a'afusa ka'amar. It's like a vav being written on the bark of a tree. So I'll say, so what does that mean? So if you ever tried to write the letter vav on a bark of a tree, what happens? We'll try it today. Well, what happens? What happens? The vav doesn't come out straight, right? Because it's hard to write directly in the bark of a tree. The vav comes out like there are parts of it that are broken. So Rabbi Chia responds to Rav, yeah, Rabbi Shir, it's like a vav written on the bark of a tree, which means it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense, meaning the logic is not sound. To which the Gemara says, "V'hakra kamar." So also listen to this. But Rav says to Rebbe, but 1 second, Rebbe's quoting a pasuk. Rav should say Rav says to Rav Chia. Right, but Rebbe's quoting a pasuk. So the Gemara says, no. The pasuk kra zerizuse de Avram kamashman. I will say what we don't learn out from that pasuk. Ultimately, again, the halachos of shchita. We learn out from that pasuk. Ultimately, again, the incredible zrizus of Avram Avinu. That's what we learn. Look at Rashi. Kra zerusa de Avram kamashmalan. Rashi is the first of the intermediate wide lines in Rashi. Rashi says, Shechash v'nizhar, shemalov yimtza tzur, v'afilu mechuber, v'hevi imo ma'achela. So we'll say, actually, the chiddush of the pasuk is the zrizus of Avram. What's the zrizus of Avram? That he packed the knife. He packed the knife. In other words, we'll say, he could have just, as he said, remember again, you could do shechita with a sharpened stone. So you could find a sharpened stone anywhere, or you could sharpen a stone anywhere. But yet the zrizus of Avram Avinu was he wanted to ensure that he would be able to comply with the divine directive. So he literally packed his own knife. That's what the pasuk is coming to teach me. It's not coming to teach me hilchos shechita, to which the Gemara says, Amar Rava. So Rava says, pshitali, talush ulubas. So I will say. So again. So we right now the only thing we do have. No one's offering a secondary source. So it appears that the only source that we in fact do have for this concept of the prohibition to shecht b'mechuber is literally again this pasuk from the Akedah that vayikach Avram es hamacheles lishchot es bino, or vayikach es hamacheles lishchot es bino. You have to be able to take it. Okay. So Gemara goes weiter. We'll say still all on the same topic. Amar Rava. Pshitali talush ulabasov chibru. Let's listen to this. So now we're going to expand the scope of this conversation a little bit. So Rabbi says, it's clear to me that in a case of talush ulabasov chibru, if you have something that was detached and you subsequently attached it, le'inyan avodas kochavim havi talush. I will say for other purposes, it is still talush. Now, this is a very important halacha. The halacha says that anything that is part of the earth cannot be turned into avodah zarah. For example, let's say an akum comes along and he worships a mountain. So the halacha is he cannot go ahead and turn the mountain into an avodah zarah. It's Eloheim ala harim velo haharim Eloheim. Only that which is movable, technically speaking, can be turned into idolatry. Right? Anything that is karka cannot become avodah zarah. So the Shai Rabbi says as follows. Let's say you have something which was detached, and you subsequently attached it to the ground. What's its status legabe avodah zarah? So we'll say. So again, understand that what's the best example of this? Something that was detached and subsequently attached. A plant could be good. Even better. I mean, that was excellent. Right, good. Right? But possibly just as good is a structure. A structure, I will say, remember again, think about this for just a moment. A structure is something that was detached, meaning the materials used to make the structure are detached. Subsequently, it's built and it's attached. So again, you can make, so the shaila is, what is the status of somebody worships a structure? What does that do? So watch this. So the Gemara says, Amar Rav Pshitali, talush ulabasov chibro. If something was detached, subsequently attached, le'inyan avodas kochavim havi talush. I will say for idolatry purposes, it's considered to be talush, and therefore again, if worshipped, ultimately again has the status of avodah zarah. Do amar mar hamishtachav elebayis shalo asro. I will say because Mar said that's what if you worship your house, right? If you turn your house into a deity, you worship your house as avodah zarah, the house becomes asr as avodah zarah. I will say, by the way, this is not necessarily the same thing as a house of worship. There's a difference between worshiping a house and worshiping in a house. Those might not have the same status. Right now we're literally talking about Hamishtachav elebayis shalo. I've turned the house into a deity. So we'll say, so the Gemara halacha is, it's avodah zarah in all of its different ways. And if you would think that something that was detached and subsequently attached is considered to be mechuber, then Abba we would apply the concept of Eloheim ala harim. It is only us when it is their gods on the mountains, velo harim Eloheim. But the mountains cannot become their god, which is another way of saying what? Which is another way of saying that halacha lamaisa, that which is part of the karka, cannot go ahead and become avodah zarah. So Abba therefore again for avodah zarah purposes, it appears as something that was talush, Ulubasof chibro, detached, subsequently attached, does not have the status of something that is mechuber lekarka, and therefore again it's considered to be quote unquote movable property, and therefore can become avodah zarah. I'm sorry? Asher is different because Asher is explicitly mentioned in the Torah. So the inyan hechsher zrab tonight. Rabbi say, what about hechsher zrab? Hechsher zrab, Rabbi means when an item is able to become makabel tumah. Remember again. So when is a food item able to be makabel tumah? Only when what? After it comes in contact with liquid. Watch this case. So the Gemara says, Tanahi, disnan. Well, I'll say, take a look at Rashi for just a moment. Linyan hechsher zraim tanahi. It's in the intermediate wide lines, probably about 5-6 lines up from before it comes the widest. Ihavi mechuber ihavi talush liachshavinu legisham biyiridasan letzorech shum damar davar va'achar kach naflu peiros lesochan afa pi shelo yadu keshech shiro osan peiros. So let's listen to this. So in a classic case of hechsher food items, the way it works is as follows. If the food item becomes wet and you're happy with it becoming wet, then it becomes ra'i lekabel tumah. If I don't know about it or I'm not happy about it, then ultimately it's not makabel tumah. We're going to deal with a couple of very interesting cases where it's raining and I want the water. Even if I don't want the water for the fruit, but I wanted the water in some way, that water has the ability to be machsher, the peiros, lekabel tumah. Masha'enkin, if I don't want the rain, right, then it's not machsher the peiros. You see what I mean in just a moment. Watch this. This nan, here we go. Hakofe ka'ara ala kosel b'shil shetudach. Let's listen to this. I go ahead, it's raining. I have a plate. Right, so I figure, you know what, I'm all about time saving. So what do? I figure, you know what, no need to spend my time washing the dishes. I'm just going to put my plate on top of my kosel, on top of my wall, and let the rain do the work for me. So I place the plate on top of the wall in order to go ahead and clean the plate. So what's the halacha? Harei b'chiyutan. Rabbi say, if that water subsequently falls onto fruit, it allows the fruit to now be makabel tumah. Rabbi say, what's the logic here? Why is that? Because I want the rain. Because I want the rain, even though I don't want the rain for the fruit, I want the rain for the plate. But because I want the rain, ultimately, again, it's machshir the peros lekabel tumah. Bishul shelo yilaka akosa. We'll say on the other hand, if I put the plate on top of the wall to prevent the wall in that particular area from getting wet, and the water subsequently slides off the plate onto the fruit, then what's the halacha? It's not machshir the fruit lekabel tumah. Why not? Because I don't want the rain. Because I don't want the water. So the Gemara says, "Hagufa kasha." Here's the problem. There's an inherent contradiction. What's the contradiction? Amrit bishul shetudach harizeh b'chiyutan. You told me that if you put the plate in order for the plate to get cleaned, so ultimately again, and the water subsequently drips on the fruit, that it's machshir the fruit lekabel tumah. Why? Because you want the water. Habishul sheyudach hakosel ein baz ein zeh b'chiyutan. But I will say, but it sounds like if you wanted the rain to come down on the wall to clean the wall, that would not be machshir the fruit. It's only if you wanted to clean the plate. V'hadar tani, and furthermore you said, right, later on you said, b'shol shelo yilaka kosel. If you put the plate there to cover the wall so that the wall should not become wet, then what? Then halacha l'maaseh, if the liquid subsequently slides onto the fruit, it's not machshir l'kabel tumah. Ein b'chiyutan. But again, if it was to clean the wall, it sounds like it would be machshir the fruit. On Rabbi Lazar Tavra, Misha Shanazu Lo Shanazu. So Rabbi Lazar says, you're right, there's a disconnect in the Brisa. There must be two different opinions being quoted over here. Rav Papa says, no. Kula Chad Tanu. No, there's all one opinion. What's happening over here? Rabbi say, here we go. Ha Bekosel Ma'ara, Ha Bekosel Binyan. Rabbi say, one is talking about the wall of a cave, one is talking about the wall of a structure. What is the difference? Here we go. Vachi Ka'amar. Hakofe ka'ara al hakosel bishvil shetudach. We'll say, watch this. If a person goes ahead and overturns a plate on the kosel, for what purpose, I will say? To clean the plate. This is all being done to clean the plate. Harei b'chiyutan. Ultimately, if the water subsequently comes in contact with the produce, ultimately it's machshir lekabel tumah. Ha b'chshvil sheyudach hakosel ein ze b'chiyutan. We'll say what it sounds like over here is if I wanted the rainwater to clean the wall, then what? It would not be b'chiyutan. It wouldn't be machshir the fruit. Why not? Watch this. Because we'll say, when is that true? That's with the wall of a cave. We'll say what's unique about the wall of a cave is avabakosel binyan bishoshalo yalakala dina bechiyutan habishol sheyuda hakosel harezeh bechiyutan. And we'll say again over here, what's the difference between the wall of a cave and the wall of a structure? The wall of a cave is mechuber. It's always been mechuber. The wall of the structure, Abosai, was talush ulubasov chibra. So Abosai, you see over here that at least when it comes to hechsher zraim, there's a machlokes. If water which comes in, if everyone will agree that ultimately if water comes in contact with something that is mechuber lekarka, and you wanted the water, and the water subsequently comes in contact with produce, ultimately what happens? That water is machshir the produce lekabel tuma. What happens if the water comes in contact with something that was talush ulubasov chibro, and you wanted the water? Is it machshir the zraim? That seems to be a machlokes. But I will say, just so again, for our purposes, what is fascinating about this, I will say, is the concept that halacha lemaisa. We've always assumed that the only time produce is mekabel tuma is when you want the produce to become wet. But if you don't want the produce to become wet, then it's not mekabel tuma. We see over here that's not the case. We see over here that essentially there is another scenario where as long as I want the rainwater, as long as I want the rain, I want the water, the rain coming down, even though I don't want it for the purposes of the fruit, I want it for a secondary purpose. The fact that that rain is wanted has the ability, at least under certain circumstances, to subsequently be machshir the peiros lekabel tuma. By Rava. So Rava asked the following kasha. Amud Beis. Talush lebasov chibro le'inyan shchita ma'is. We'll say we come now full circle. Okay, very interesting that you're bringing up talush lebasov chibro for purposes of avodah zara. Interesting that you're bringing up for purposes of being machshir peiros lekabel tuma. But again, remember, we're in Chullin. I have a simple question. What is the status of talush ulubasov chibro for shchita purposes? For shchita purposes, can I use a knife that was originally detached, subsequently attached to the ground? Is such a knife usable for shchita or not? What's the halacha? So Tashma, the Gemara, let's analyze this. Hayutz or yotze min hakosel o sheyakana ola me'ilav. Let's listen to this. If I had a rock, a sharpened rock, that was coming out of the wall, or a reed that was sprouting up on its own, it was just sharpened, v'shachad bo, and I used it to shecht, shchita so psula. Ultimately, again, the shchita is pasul. Now, I both say, so at least the case of tsur hayose min hakosel, what does that sound like? That could be a case of talush ulabasov chibro, and it sounds like it's aser. To which the Gemara says, no. Hakamay askinon bekosel ma'ara. We'll say we're not talking about a case of a stone that was detached and subsequently attached. Rather, what are we talking about over here? The wall of a cave. What's supposed to mean when I say the wall of a cave? It means that what? The rock was there, it was always attached. It just became sharpened, or you sharpened it. Such a rock, which was always attached, may not be used for shchita. And again, the diuk for this is, because remember again, the Brisa compares the case of the rock to the case of the reed. Just like the reed is attached to the ground and always been attached to the ground, so to the case of the rock is one which has been always attached to the ground. Tashma. So we'll say, so we still haven't answered the kasha. Tashma. Na'at sakin bakosa v'shachad ba shchita so kshera. We'll say if you take a knife and you embed it in the wall and you use it for shchita, ultimately again the shchita will be kosher. To which, so we'll say, so again, so what do you see from here? It sounds like from here that talush ulubasov chibro, what's going to be the halacha? Kosher. It works. To which one says, no, that's not a good case. Shiny sakin de la mevatale. We're both saying, here's the difference. The difference over here is in the case of the sakin, a person is not mevatalit to the wall, which means we'll say, even when I go ahead and I attach it to the wall, it is not my intention to what? To leave it there in perpetuity. So meaning, I'm attaching it for now, I'm going to leave it there for whatever amount of time, but because I'm going to detach it, it doesn't necessarily have the status of mechuber. V'dilma perushe kamefarish. Ultimately, again, maybe the way Rabbi say to read the Brisa, ultimately, again, is as an explanation. How would you read it? My mechuber lekarka. Ultimately, again, what's the case of mechuber lekarka? Sakin de la mevatale. Ultimately, again, a sakin in which one is not mevatalit. Okay, Amar Mar. Nods sakin bakosa v'shachat ba shchita so kshera. So we'll say, here we go. So a person goes ahead and embeds a sakin in the kosel, and you use it ultimately again for shchita. The halacha is that it's kosher. Amar Ravanan, Amar Shmuel, lo shanu ella. So we'll say, so first of all, okay. All right, you know what? We'll finish a little more and then I'll tell you the halacha. So we'll say, so again, Naz sakin bakosel, b'shachad ba. We'll say, actually, let me tell you this now. The way the Shulchan Aruch paskins in Yeridea is as follows. The halacha is, Shulchan Aruch says that you are supposed to go ahead and shecht with something that is talush. Supposed to shecht with something that is detached. Interesting enough, the Shulchan Aruch paskins, where do we know that from? Shulchan Aruch, Vayikach es ha'ma'acheles lishchot es bino. So amazingly enough, we actually learn it out from the pasuk of the Akedah that shchita has to be done b'talush. If you do shchita with something that is mechuber, ultimately, again, the shchita is pasal. What about the case of talush ulubasov chibro, something that was detached, subsequently attached? So the Shulchan Aruch paskins lechatchila, one should not share with such an item. But b'di'evet, if you did it, the shchita is kosher. Let's say that's how you paskin. Halacha l'maisa. Let's go back there a little bit. Amar Mar, Naz sakin bakosel v'shachad ba. We'll say, I went ahead and I embedded a knife in a wall and I used it to shecht. So shchita is a kshera. Ultimately, again, the shchita is good. Amar Ravanan, so we'll say, listen to this. Ravanan says, Amar Shmuel, Lo shana ela sakin l'mayla v'tzavar behem l'mato. We'll say, so now that's actually very interesting. When do we say that it's kosher? That's if the knife is on top and the animal's neck is on the bottom, right? So you're bringing the animal up to the knife, I guess moving the animal back and forth like that, and therefore, again, that's how the shechita is taking place. Aval, sakin lamata v'tzara behem lamalo, but we'll say if the knife is below, and essentially you're bringing the animal on top of the knife, that will not be kosher. Why? It's actually quite interesting. Chayshinan shema yidros. We'll say one of the psulim of shechita is drisa. Drisa means pressing. So, for example, if you were to take a knife and you were to just very, very sharp knife, and you were to press it down on the knife on the neck of the animal, so let's say you slice through both simanim, that is not proper shechita. Shechita must be done with cutting, right? A back and forth motion, not pressing. So if you think about it, it's actually quite interesting. If the knife is on the bottom and the animal is on top, and you shecht it like that, what are we concerned about? One word: gravity. Right? We're concerned about the fact that really what may end up happening over here is the animal may be pressed down on the knife, and that's how shechita occurs. But the Bryce explicitly says that you could shecht with a knife that is embedded in the wall, whether the knife is below and the animal is on top, or the knife is above and the animal is below. You could shecht in all of these circumstances. So it says, how do you reconcile these two statements? Amrav Zvid, litztadin katani. Rabbi says actually two parts of this brayso. Sakin lemata, vitzaver behema lemala. So, I'm sorry. Sakin lemata, vitzaver behema lemala, betalush. Rabbi says, listen to this. If the knife is below and the head of the animal is above, so that's fine as long as what? The knife is detached. So in other words, if you're holding the knife, and you have direct control over the knife, even if you're shechting the animal from below, right? That's fine. We're not choshesh for drisa. However, sakin lamala v'tzara behema lamata. But if the knife is above and the neck of the animal is below, then even b'mechuber, then you can even go ahead and what? You can even go ahead and shecht with a knife that is attached to the ground. But another possibility is Rav Papa Amar ba'ofa dekalil. There is a case of where you could even go ahead and shecht with a knife that is embedded in the wall, even if the knife is below and the animal is above. What would be a case like that? Birds. Right, so apparently the concern, if the knife is below and the animal is above, the concern that you're not going to end up shechting, but you're going to do drisa, pressing, is only when in what case? Where the animal is heavy. But if the animal is light, so let's say in a bird bus, where you can hold the bird in your hand, and you can make sure that it doesn't press, and you can make sure there's a shechita, that will be okay. Here we go. Tana. We're switching gears a little bit. So, hey, Devarim ne'emru b'krom shalkana. We'll say there are 5 things that were said about a sharpened reed. A sharpened reed. What are the 5 things that are said about a sharpened reed? Ein shochtin ba. Rabbi say you cannot go ahead and use it for shechita. Again, obviously, we'll see. This seems to contradict what we just said before, right? You can't use it for shechita. Ve'ein malin ba. You cannot use it for bris milah. Vein mechatkin ba basar, you should not use it to cut meat. Vein mechatzin ba shinayim, you shouldn't use it as a toothpick. Vein mekanchin ba. They both say in mekanchin ba sounds like literally you shouldn't wipe with it. So it sounds like after relieving oneself. So we'll discuss them in just a moment. Let's analyze this. In shochtin ba, you can't shacht with it. So we'll say, so was that true? V'hatanya ba kol shochtin bein bitzar bein bischuchis bein mikrom shakana. We'll say we just said explicitly before that what you could shecht with anything that is sharpened, even what, even a sharpened reed. So we'll say, so what's going on over here? Twitch Gemara says, Amar Papa bisemune de'agma. We'll say if you look at Rashi, it's almost right across in Rashi bisemune de'agma. Esev hagadol ba'agme mayon. We'll say this is talking about when the Brisa says that you could check with anything, even a sharpened reed. This is talking about a specific type of reed that grows by the swamps, that grows by marsh. Like, as we're going to see over here, the concern is for splintering. That's the concern. So what the Gemara essentially answers is there are different types of reed. Certain types of reed, specifically the ones that grow by the swamps or by the marshes, don't splinter. So because they don't splinter, ultimately, again, you could use it for shchita. When the Brisa says over here that, or Yitzchak said over here, that you can't use a reed for shchita, that was talking about the type of reed which splinters. The Gemara says, Ve'im mechatchin ba-basar, and you can't go ahead and cut meat with this type of reed as well. Rav Gemara says, is that true? Rav Papa, mechatech ba kirvei dogim. Rav Papa used to go ahead and cut up the fish innards, right, the kishkas of the fish, with this type of reed. Why? Dezigi. I both say dezigi means the fish innards apparently are translucent, transparent, right? They're clear. So for both say, so therefore, what's the issue? The issue is even if the reed splinters, it's okay. Why? You'll see it. You'll be able to see it. Therefore, he wasn't concerned. Rabbi Barafuna mechatech ba'ofa derachich. Rabbi Barafuna would use this type of reed to cut bird meat, fowl meat. Right? Why? Because it was soft, there was no concern for splintering. Ve'im mekanchin ba. Then Rabbi say it sounds like you can't use this reed to wipe yourself after defecating. You can't go ahead and use this reed to wipe. I would say why? Because ultimately, again, it's splinters. That's what it sounds like. It splinters. Like there's a sakana over here. So for the Gemara says, but 1 second, teipuklei. We should know, but there's another reason. Teipuklei da amar mar hamikaneach bedavar sha'or sholetes bo shinav noshros. So we'll say if one goes ahead and wipes with something that is flammable, shinav noshros. Shinav noshros literally mean your teeth fall out. It's not talking about the teeth in your mouth. It's talking about it sounds like some type of like rectal damage. So we'll say, so ultimately again, so apparently using flammable items to go ahead and wipe yourself actually has a detrimental effect. So the reed itself is actually flammable. So even aside from the splintering, is there not another issue at play? To which the Gemara says, no. I think you misunderstood the wiping that we're talking about over here. Well, the Gemara's like, whoa, real misunderstanding over here. Amra Papa, kinuach pimaka kamrinan. We're talking about cleaning up a wound, right? Wiping a wound. So the idea we'll say is you should not use this type of reed to wipe a wound. Why? Because we'll say it's all the same issue, which is splintering, right? Out of a concern that obviously if you're using it to wipe the wound and it splinters into the wound, it could cause even greater infection. Okay, good. Hakol shoktin uli. Let's remember again. The Mishnah said hakol shoktin, which the way we read that was everything is shechted and we always shecht. So what does this mean? The Gemara says hakol shoktin means hakol b'shchita. Every animal, we'll see, of course, except for fish, is subject ultimately to shchita. Va'afilu of, even birds. Right? Even birds, I will say, have the din of shchita. Li'olam shoktin. We'll say, what does it mean that we shecht forever? What is that referring to? Mantana. Amar Rabba Rabbi Shmuel. We'll say this refers to Rabbi Shmuel. Why? What did Rabbi Shmuel say? Listen to this. So the Gemara says this is actually quite amazing. Ki yarchiv Hashem elokechas gevulcha kasher di berlach va'amarta ochla basar. So we'll say, listen to this. V'amarta ochla basar, and the rest of the pasuk is kisave nafshecha le'echal basar b'chalav as nafshecha tocha basar, because you will desire to eat meat. Now both say what the Torah is referring to over here is as follows. Let's read it. Rabbi Shmuel Omer lo b'hakasav ela lahaftir lahem basar taiva. I will say this pasuk is coming to teach me that when we enter into Eretz Yisrael, something called basar taiva becomes permitted. Now, we'll say, what's basar taiva? Right? Meat that is only consumed because you want it. Not sacrificial. There's no religious rite or service associated with this meat. I'm shechting the animal. Why? Because I want steak. Right? I want to eat meat. It has nothing to do with God. I mean, of course, it has everything to do with God. Right? I'm making a bracha on everything, meaning there's no sacrificial kamar. We'll say this is called basar taiva. Watch this. This is actually amazing. Shebetchila ne'esar lahem basar taiva. Because we'll say when we were in the desert, you were not permitted to eat basar taiva. We'll say what this means is, in the desert, if you wanted meat, what did you have to do? What did you have to do? You had to bring a carbon. There was no such thing as shechting an animal because you're hungry and you want to eat meat. If you wanted meat, you had to bring a carbon. Now again, remember again, right? That was part of the That was part of the punishment. That's why part of why the slav was not a good thing was ultimately again because there was no sacrificial component to it. Kadosh Baruch Hu says, you want meat? It's fine. Remember, we'll say why did Kadosh Baruch Hu set up such a situation like that? This was behavioral conditioning. This was in order to ensure that the people would not simply become a materialistic nation. You want to eat meat, that's fine, you're allowed to eat meat. But every single time you want to eat meat, it has to come in a sacrificial context. So Rabbi Shmuel says like this, in the desert, in the desert, you are not allowed to have basar taiva. You cannot just eat meat. You cannot just shecht an animal for the sake of shechting an animal. Hutter lahem basar taiva. We'll say, so once we entered into Eretz Yisrael, then what? What happened? Once basar taiva became permitted. So we'll say now, which makes sense, by the way, because if you think about it again, in the desert, you have the luxury of telling people, you cannot eat meat unless you offer up a carbon. Why do you have that luxury? Because everyone is living in close proximity to the Mishkan. Once you come to Eretz Yisrael and everyone is spread out, halacha l'maisa, if you're going to make a person come to the Beis HaMikdash every single time he eats meat, it's not going to work. It's not going to work. So therefore, we come into Eretz Yisrael, basar taiva becomes permitted. Watch this. V'achshav shegalu yachol yachzru l'yisrun harishon. So we'll say, I might have thought that what? I might have thought that halacha l'maisa, once the Beis HaMikdash is destroyed, once the Beis HaMikdash is destroyed, then what? Then halacha l'maisa, maybe we revert back to what was. We'll say what was. What was what? You can't eat basar taiva. Now we'll say, now for us, what would that mean? Look at Rashi this moment. Second of the widest lines in Rashi. Va'achshav shegalu lav Rabbi Shmuel kamarle ela rabba kamarle ukmin v'asis Rabbi Shmuel kolomar ulach itan d'la'om shochtin d'lotema achshav shegalu yachzru l'yisuran kimo shegalu. So I might have thought once the Beis HaMikdash is destroyed and we're exiled, maybe we go back to this same status. In other words, that you can't eat basar taiva, right? You can only eat meat if there's a carbon. Obviously, in the absence of the Beis HaMikdash, there are no carbonos. Therefore, what does that mean, Rabbi Osai? No meat. Maybe that's what it means. Therefore, again, the Mishnah comes along and says, "L'kach shaninu li'olam shochtin." Therefore, Rabbi Osai, the Mishnah comes along and says, "No, li'olam shochtin." Ultimately, again, we shech now. Even though there's no Beis HaMikdash, we shech now, and you can eat basar taiva. Ma'askeh for Rav Yosef. Rav Yosef says, 1 second. Hi li'olam shochtin va'ochlin mi ba'ilei. So Rav Yosef, it doesn't make sense. If that's the case, then the Mishnah should read what? Li'olam shochtin va'ochlin. We still shechtin. In other words, that if what you're saying is true, the real kunz of what the Mishnah is saying is not that we could do shchita. The real kunz is that what? We could eat meat. Va'od meikar. So okay, you know what? We'll stop over for today. We'll pick up Emirat Hashem with the va'od and Emirat Hashem tomorrow. Shkoyach.
Rabbi, do we still dry fruit that like grapes?